one pretty cool thing is where we got out, or about 9 miles before Mount Carmel, them rapids, they call it the Great Chain Rapids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Great Chain Rapids. So the whole trip, we had heard about these rapids or whatever, and we was obviously unfamiliar with the river. And as we're talking to a couple river people on the way down through there, they're like, oh, we don't go down there, or I would get out and take go around it.
Wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, so we're a little anxious, a little nervous about whatever, that whole situation. And before we knew we was going to be hitting the rapids on our last day. So we stopped and camped before there thinking we want to be fresh because we're exhausted.
Right.
I mean,
you're working all day.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
We don't want to get to the rapids, 12 miles into this day and then have to deal with it. So, yeah.
So we got up the next morning and we're feeling good and we're talking about it. And before we got to them rapids, I mean, we come around the corner of a bend and we're, I don't know, half mile away, 3/4 mile away, and you can just hear the water. And you're thinking, oh boy, what have we got ourselves into here?
It's like a roar.
Yeah,
it was like a roar.
It was white water. I mean, and the lower
the Wabash.
On the Wabash.
Yeah, which you'd never expect.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and he goes, Jacobs, what is that? And I said, I don't know, Niagara Falls, it sounds like.
I mean, right. And that goes back to where your senses are so in tune. I mean, everything seems louder, but so we're getting close, and we had hooked up with Tim and Heath Hoffman, and on our last morning, and they hooked up with us and took some video and some pictures of us and stuff. So they actually went through the rapids first, just trying to get a line for us. I mean, we got a lot of money in this canoe.
Yeah.
I mean, not in the canoe itself, but just in gear, and I mean, everybody knows the sport.
Yeah.
It takes thousands of dollars to look porter.
Yeah.
But so they kind of got a line, and I don't know that we really followed them, but we was, and
it boosted our confidence anyway.
Yeah, most definitely.
Whether that was smart or not, I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, them waves were 2.5 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't crazy, but
in this thing,
it felt
like the Titanic.
Right.
Yeah. Water coming over the front end.
Yeah. So busting through them, I mean, it didn't ride up on the waves like a regular canoe would. I mean, it's just plowing right through it. So the waves are coming over the front of the boat. It was pretty neat. I can imagine how nervous Jacobs must have been seeing that jumping right in his lap.
Yeah. Well, I christened it early on in the trip. I called it the HMS divorce. So I told Eli, if we go under, we're losing half our stuff. So, and he said, well, if it goes under, we tip it over. I'm only worried about my rifle. And you, Jacobs, and you. I said, no, too late, too much of a pause. I don't believe it. We're pretty good friends anyway.
Almost definitely.
But just getting to know each other that much better, and
Yeah, spending 6 days with somebody on the river in a situation like that, to where there's a lot of work involved and trust.
Yeah, I mean, you're dependent on each other.
Yes,
it brought back a lot of memories for me, in the military, obviously. But you get, I told him you get real close with guys, and we got to where, I mean, we pretty much kind of read each other's mind, thinking, and just, hey, he'd look at me up in the front and say, kind of shift your weight to the right a little bit. We're leaning a little this way or that, and when we get out at night, this is my box to get out, that's his box to get out, and then we pack all the rest of the gear up. He would start the dinner, or I'd set the shelter up, or vice versa. We just kind of flop back and forth.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of talking
that
had to go on to accomplish everything, even in the mornings. I mean, we'd be up at 5:30 in the morning, and I didn't have to tell Jacobs, like, hey, it's time, or you know what I mean. It's just you did what you did, and so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like the boxes and things, did you guys have those, or did you build those to fit the canoe?
No, a good friend of ours, Kurt Hoagland. He's a great gun builder, engraver. I mean, anything Kurt does is, he's just a craftsman. Him and his wife. I was pretty busy in life trying to get whatever, not only ready for this trip, but just in life in general. Everybody's busy. You know what I mean? So I had contacted Kurt and see if he'd build me a couple boxes. And
we had looked at some boxes about a month ahead of that. We were kind of thinking ahead what we were going to store stuff in and carry it in. And we seen some boxes with the lids lift off. We thought that'd be perfect. It'd be multi-purpose. We store gear in it. We could use the top for a table. We could, whatever we need to do, clean a fish on it or something. So, and he got a hold of Kurt and gave him the dimensions that we actually needed to fit the canoe.
And they worked out perfect.
Perfect,
They weren't too heavy. There's no hinges to break off. Very simple boxes, and they worked out great.
But it works.
Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah.
So did you guys have to, I guess a couple more questions, like as far as food, did you bring a lot of food with you, or did you catch?
Yeah, we brought a lot of food with us. Like I said, we was expecting to be out there 8 days, maybe 9
days.
So we brought cornmeal, we brought lard,
potatoes,
carrots, beans, carrots, onions.
It was all traditional food.
All traditional food.
Most definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. And we did, or Jason did some hunting, and I tried fishing and stuff, and with 18th century gear. Fishing gear.
Cane
so that was
poles,
pretty cool. Cane poles.
line.
I'd set bank lines of an evening, with some frogs and toads. It was neat.
Paul Wagner Jones.
The name
out of
sounds
Texas. Yeah, he awesome guy. Probably, I would say one of the foremost authorities on 18th century fishing right
Most
now.
Definitely.
And he was just instrumental. He hooked us up with some gear. We got ideas from him. He talked us through a lot of things because that's something that we've thought about on small scales. Have a little fishing kit in our gear, obviously, when we go out trekking, but never really utilized it a whole lot, or got into the different types of floats and lines, and
Paul, he's so knowledgeable on all that, and he's been a great help. We talked to each other probably 3 or 4 times before this trip, and he was excited for us about using his gear. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, he'd said he'd been out on 2-day trips, but nothing extended time like that. So. Yeah, he was definitely rooting for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
And he had actually been on the Wabash. Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
He had actually been on the Wabash, and he's from Texas.
Really?
So that was pretty cool that he knew what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
As far as the
and
area.
He could kind of advise on that.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm on several pages on Facebook, and just the outpouring of support and enthusiasm, and guys saying, well, we did this section in the 70s, we did, you're bringing back memories, and you're an inspiration, and that's not what we set out to do. It was for us, but for guys that can't do it, I've had guys say, just go out on a 3-day hunting trip, and they said, man, I wish I had friends that would do that with me, and we're fortunate that we do have the friends that will do it with us.
And we're all pretty close in area as well,
Right.
It's hard to do that over distance.
Oh, most definitely.
Something like this.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah.
With everybody's life schedule.
Yeah. But you gotta, it's like any other hobby. You gotta make the time. If you want to do it, you'll make the time to do it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you guys sharing this with me.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to get this out in front of some more people.
Good.
Stuff like this is so cool.
Yeah.
It's really neat to, in a way, kind of be here so close after you guys have done it.
Right. It's still fresh in our minds.
Yeah. It's still exciting. It's really exciting for me because I was one of those people online kind of watching you guys get things going and get things around, and to be here with you guys completing it. So cool.
It's not something that happens every day.
Right.
It was...
I've talked to a handful of guys who've done the trip or a trip down the Wabash that length, but nobody that's done it in a dugout canoe, And to us, that's what made the trip.
Yeah, definitely.
We could climb in an old town canoe and do it, but
this really added to it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This was one project in itself.
Oh yeah.
Building a canoe. That was a huge project.
2 separate projects.
And then yeah, and then doing this on top of that, it was.
And then you didn't just bring it around as kind of a set piece. I mean, you went out and used it.
Right.
And gave it the life that it wanted in a way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So cool.
Yeah, we had a lot of support. I mean, from family and friends, helping us out along the way, dropping us off, picking us up. You know, it was pretty cool.
Did your family and friends just kind of drop you off at the start and said, "We'll see you"? I mean, were there any like safety measures?
No, we had a little trouble on our loadout. We got together about 3 days ahead of time and loaded the canoe how we thought it looked good and was going to function. Yeah. And then we got to Terre Haute and we put it in the water. We loaded it out just like we'd done. And we got in it and pushed off the bank, and within 30 seconds we figured out it was not going to work that way. We were top heavy. The canoe was tippy.
Well, our plans was to set on top of the boxes. I mean, that would only make sense, right? I mean, in your mind, set on top of the boxes. And they're, what, 10 inches tall? I mean, 10, 11 inches tall. Yeah. So we're thinking, that won't be too bad. That's pretty close to a normal canoe seat, maybe a little bit taller. But like Jacob said, as soon as we got out there, it's like, nope, this ain't going to work. And we're 3 feet from the bank and just
shaking.
Yeah, it's like, So we pulled back in and pulled out, I don't even know. Well, we had 5 gallons of water we pulled out.
Yeah, we had a water keg that we pulled out and another water container.
Yeah. He had a small wooden stool, pulled it out. And I mean, we probably got rid of 60 pounds a gear.
Probably.
I mean,
you had to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it was sitting above the top of it. So,
and then we lowered ourselves. We got onto the bottom of the canoe off the boxes.
Yeah. Well, we didn't do that right off the bat.
No, not right off the bat.
But we got rid of weight, and we're thinking, okay, we can kind of do this. And we get maybe a mile down the river, and we banked it in the middle on a sandbar right in the middle of the river. Pulled everything out, and then restacked everything and got back in and got our butts pretty much on the bottom of the canoe. I mean, I was sitting on blankets. He was sitting on blankets and stuff. I mean, so we're right down on the bottom. And after that, we was good as gold. So we felt pretty confident.
Yeah. I guess to answer the question, his father and a couple of good friends of ours were there. My dad was there. And they thought that there was a boat ramp like 4 miles down the river. So they were going to go down to the ramp and wait on us to get there and see if we were actually going to go through with it and continue on. Figured out the boat ramp wasn't there, so they ended up going about 7 miles down. Yeah. And just got out on a sandbar and were waiting on us when we come by. And well, how you guys feeling? Are you going to take out or are you going to go? You know. Yeah. And we're like, we're feeling pretty good now. We made some more adjustments. We're going to go for it. So
they was kind of worried. 7 miles doesn't seem like that far. I mean, you can drive that in lickety split,
couple minutes.
But doing it running 3 mile an hour. I mean, it takes you a little over 2 hours to get there. Yeah. So he was kind of wondering
if you guys had tipped over.
We even made it that far. But definitely had a lot of support and help along the way.
That's great.
Definitely.
Well, to kind of wrap things up and let you guys get on with your day, is there anything you guys want to kind of plug or share or point people towards, with what you're doing? Where can they find you online or?
I do Instagram. I'm not on Facebook or anything, but just one word I'd like to say is, people just get out there and do it. Just get out there and use your gear, have fun, enjoy it with friends. And even if you're not 100% correct, just get out there and do it, because I do believe that this is a dying sport. And I mean, the age of everybody getting up there, we need the younger generation to help fuel and fire this and keep things going.
For sure.
And education, for all the youngsters, and just supporting the craftsmen that do this, because history will be lost if we don't.
Yeah. It's really neat being able to sit down with you guys as kind of the next step in that history of all of this. I mean, you were talking about the guys in the 70s, and now you are the next step. The guys that do it now are going to look back to you guys and ask you for pointers. And keeping those journals and things, that's going to be so important to the next people down the road.
Yes.
Now we're looking at journals from the beginning of America.
Right.
And we're able to look at those and understand things. And now, not to make it super important, but in a way it really is.
Yeah.
That you guys have done this and documented it.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much every camp I go to, whenever I journal. I mean, I write down who's there, you know, kind of what the weather was, and you know, funny things that happened or whatever. I mean, even make notes on people's clothing. Sometimes I enjoy it.
People find you online anywhere, or not your sort of thing?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on several of the historical pages on Facebook. The Contemporary Long Rifle page, Historical Pathways. You can find me on there all the time. I'm moderator on there with Ken Hill. And like again on the CLA page, I love seeing the work that these artists are doing now, you know, whether it's a rifle or a hawk or whatever. But I interject a lot of our hunts and treks and stuff on there because I you know, get out and use this gear, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't know. I mean, it can look really nice, but if you get it out in the woods and it doesn't work.
Right. I mean, you find out that the bail on your tin boiler is not exactly how you want it to be, you know. So you modify, you change it a little bit or whatever, and just use the gear and experience it. You know. Yeah. Get into that mindset.
That's awesome. Thank you guys again so much for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it.